Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Blissed? Dr. Shealy, are you blissed? Yeah. You know, I don't hear Dr. Shealy. Hey, Andy? Do you...
Hello?
Oh, I think I just heard him. So did I hear Dr. Shealy?
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Shealy. How are you?
Are they having a snowstorm up there in Minneapolis? This is my fourth attempt to get through.
Oh, geez. Well, maybe we've gotten some politicians involved in telecommunications, and they're helping us.
Then we have no choice. We're doomed.
Yeah, well, we are doomed. So, Dr. Norm Shealy's with us in class this morning, and if you'd like to call in, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. And there's a telephone listen line, 605-477-3249, 605-477-3249. And if you'd like to be in communication with Dr. Norman Shealy, medical doctor, researcher, author, broadcaster, native and medicine man, PhD times 3, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Shealy, is there anything that you would like to talk about starting off this morning?
Well, there are three things, to be honest, but I thought I really would like to talk about guns. That's at the top of my list after last week.
Okay. Okay, start wherever you'd like, and we can talk about guns.
G-U-N-S. Well, you know, I've always owned a couple of guns. I've had several times where I've gone out to a shooting range, but I really don't know adequately how to carry one. And as you know, our office was robbed last week, and I'm beginning to feel strongly that I need to keep a gun on me, even here at the office.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And is your question, how do I carry, or...
Yeah, I know. What do I need to do to assure, first of all, that I'm doing it right and properly? The guy at the gun shop wasn't very good about it. And I know you are an expert in this field. I'd like to know. I want to carry a gun so that I'm not going to carry it on a plane. I'm not going to travel across state lines. But I would like to be able to have one to protect my staff and me at the office and at home.
Okay. First, let me say to the class that I've been carrying a gun for a long time. I would not consider myself an expert, even though Dr. Shealy might think I am, in any way, shape, or form. I've never had to shoot anyone. And... but that being said, let me just, we'll go into this and why I carry a gun and those kinds of things. So back when we were in Virginia, I took a stance against a political event that I thought was pretty oppressive. They wanted to put, our town government wanted to put a prison diagonally across the road from our farm. There was a road that was the town limits. We were outside of the town limits, and there was a little small hamlet of about 500 people, and they were going to put in a prison. And I spoke up against it, and I said, what's going on? Why would we have a prison in a town of 500 people, and the centerpiece of our little town was going to be a prison? So where do you live? Well, he mentioned the name of the town. And people go, oh, yeah, you got the prison there, right? That's the town with the prison. So we'd be known as that. And then there'd be all kinds of undesirables coming in. So I spoke up against it. I was just a farmer back then. I was not a broadcaster, just a farmer and a computer jockey. And shots were fired at our house from the road. And our daughter came screaming down the stairs, they're shooting at the house. They're shooting at the house. We had a long driveway. So roughly a quarter of a mile away was the paved road. And our house sat down the hill a little bit from this paved road. And shots were fired, and we called the local sheriff's office, and, 20 minutes maybe or longer later, they showed up. They did a drive-by. And I realized that it doesn't work. Calling the cops doesn't work, because we would all have been dead, and all they would have had to do was, call the cleanup crew, to mop up the blood from the Finelli family. So I decided that we needed to be armed at all times. And, once our house was shot at, that was enough of a warning to me that things can get very, very serious. So Mrs. Finelli and I had known how to shoot for a long time, and we had some rifles and pistols and shotguns, but we didn't have a concealed carry permit, and that was what was required to carry concealed in the Commonwealth of Virginia at that time. So we did the necessary things to acquire the concealed carry permit, and we became armed all the time. So I had a sidearm on me at all times. And when I was on the tractor, mowing the field or whatever I was doing on a tractor, I had an AK-47 strapped across my back. and if I went into town, I would have an AK-47 with me. So, if things got, pretty dicey, I was a little bit better prepared. So that was the beginning of the Finellis having walk-around sidearms. And so Mrs. Finelli carried one, and I carried one, and I carry one to this day. So it's not that this is some kind of a fad that we have jumped on. It was because there was a bona fide reason that I started carrying a gun, and that was to protect my family and me. Well, so I have a friend who was a Marine sniper, and he lived in the village, and he and I became quite close, and he loved the boys, and he liked teaching the boys how to shoot, and he was quite a marksman, obviously, because he was a Marine sniper, and he taught us a different way of shooting. Now, there is safety, so if you want to learn safety, you go to these NRA classes, and they'll teach you how to be safe with a firearm. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do was teach our boys that safety, because if they went to their friend's house, their boyfriend's house, which that was a term you could use back then, I guess, if they went to their boyfriend's house and they were just, playing in the afternoon, and one of them said, hey, look what my daddy's got, and pulls out a handgun and somebody gets shot, I didn't want that to happen. So I wanted to make sure that our boys and our daughter knew how destructive a handgun or a rifle could be. So I taught our children safety, and I taught them the destructive power of a rifle, a pistol, and a shotgun. And then I asked the police, the sheriff's office, to come on over and show our children guns and teach them a little bit about safety. So our children saw a video on safety a couple of times. They were taught by me. They had hands-on experience, and then we brought, the sheriff's department to re-cement the knowledge that they had learned. And they fired the police officers or sheriff's deputies handguns. They got a chance to practice with the sheriff's deputies' weapons. So that was what we did. That was why we did it. Now, as I mentioned, I was taught by a Marine sniper. Now, when you learn from a guy like that, safety is really not the paramount issue. Protecting yourself is. And I was taught by another guy by the name of Mike Ma, who is a USA preparedness instructor, and I know you know him, Dr. Shealy. Mike Ma was a Marine, still is a Marine. He's in his 60s, And when he talks about guns and he teaches you about guns, he says, this is not a safety class. And that's where the distinction lies. And there's a reason why I went through all this discussion. The NRA and those kinds of classes are going to teach you, what to do, how to walk up to the firing line, when to pick up the weapon, when to load the weapon, when to, okay, fire, stop firing, cease firing. They tell you what, how, and when. Well, I think Mike Ma thinks, and my Marine sniper instructor thinks, that in a situation that we are probably going to encounter, there's going to be nobody telling you to pick up your weapon and fire. So you're on your own. So that's
the time has come. That's where said.
That's right. That's right. So in your case and in my case, how you carry, I think, is important. And I've tried lots of different holsters, and we have them here at the farm. We have the under-the-shoulder holster. It's not too practical for most of the time. However, if I'm on a four-wheeler, it might be, or a motorcycle, riding across the farm, or if I'm on the tractor, it might be okay. I carry a .45 ACP, which is a pretty large frame handgun. It's known as a 1911 style handgun, originally developed around the very, very early 1900s. It shoots a large capacity projectile and almost a half an inch across. It's hard to handle. Most people don't want to mess around with it, and it doesn't hold a lot of rounds. A .45 is not one of these 18-round, 16-round handguns. It's more like 7 or 8. So in my world, I don't like spraying bullets. I want to make sure that every shot counts for many, many reasons. 1, ammunition's expensive. 2, I don't want there to be any collateral damage. And I want to make sure that if I have to squeeze that trigger, the first shot's going to do the job. We'll be right back. I'm going to talk a little bit more about guns and how I carry and why. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us, normshealy.com. Class, Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, and Norm has asked me some questions, so I'm trying to address the issue of guns and the relationship with guns in the Finelli family and what we do and how we do it and how I carry. And what happened was Norm Shealy's office was broken into, and it was very unpleasant, and Dr. Shealy feels he needs to protect himself. Is that correct, Dr. Shealy? Am I saying that right?
You got it. And you were right about the police. They had no interest whatsoever in our strong suspicion of who did it.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Okay. Would you like me to continue about how I carry and why?
Yes, please.
Okay. Dr. Shealy, you have seen me in public, when I speak, and typically I have a uniform that I wear. And my uniform is a long-sleeve white shirt, button-down collar, traditional style, nothing avant-garde, a tie, a blue blazer, dark blue jeans, combat boots, black polished combat boots, and a web tactical belt. That's my uniform. And when I wear that uniform, and when I carry a sidearm, I carry a 1911 .45 ACP. So it's a pretty big handgun. And I carry that at my right side between the inside of my blue jeans and my shirt. So it's just stuffed in there. And the pistol just stays in place. No holster. No holster. Now, the reason why I don't use a holster with this particular handgun is because the holster would typically, most holsters, would be on the outside of the pants, and it would cause a larger, even larger bulge. So typically, unless I were to pull my sports jacket back, my blue blazer back with my right side, to show a person that I have my handgun there, you wouldn't know it. So that's one of the reasons why I carry it there. It's more comfortable for me, and It doesn't show. And right now I'm sitting in the studio. I'm all by myself. And I still have my 45 ACP, my 1911 style, in my blue jeans, between my shirt and my blue jeans. So I just put it in there and it stays there. Now I keep it in a condition that all I have to do is pull it out, hold on to the grip, and squeeze the trigger, and it's going to go bang. I have a cartridge in the pipe, as it were. It's ready to go. And I don't want to have to pull the slide back and put a cartridge, in the barrel or in the muzzle, let's say, and that's too many steps. So I think that if I need to use it, I'm ready to use it. So the big safety is me keeping my finger off that trigger. Now it does have a couple safeties, but mine is ready to go. And when I sleep with it, and Mrs. Finelli sleeps with hers, they're ready to go. So if someone comes into our house, we don't have to say, oh, what's the combination to the safe? Where is it? Where did we put it last time? Does it have any cartridges? Where's the magazine? No, they're ready to go. Because we think that, and all of our children have been trained that, guns are darn dangerous. They kill people. And, and we tell people, if you just happen to come across a gun in our house, it's loaded. It's loaded. There's no question, was it loaded? It's loaded. So that's where I carry. Now, Mike Ma has made me a holster, and he made one for Mrs. Finelli. And he took a couple straps of leather, he sewed them together, and they're two bands of leather, let's say 6 inches long. And they are sewn together, and we wet the leather, and we put the 45s in these leather straps that have 2 holes for belts, the belt loops in them. And we shape them with a spoon. We use the wet leather to shape them. And it was designed exactly for a specific handgun in a specific position that's comfortable for us behind our back, just off center of the spine. So if you're right-handed, it would be a little bit to the right. If you're left-handed, it would be a little bit to the left. Now, I'll tell you when we come back why Mike Ma recommends that, and I do too, that you consider carrying your handgun there. We'll talk a little bit more about guns when we come back. Dr. Shealy's with us, and we're talking about guns. Kyle in Montana is joining. Welcome, Kyle.
You're right on one of my passions. I love weapons, and I love tearing them apart, fixing them, and I love shooting them more than anything. And I was just and I have the utmost respect for everything that you say, Vince. I really do, because you're a really super sharp guy. I've been carrying now personally for probably close to 20 years. So I will share with Dr. Shealy, and you can take this for whatever it's worth. I've been through, numerous tactical classes, thousands and thousands of rounds up, put down range. And a friend of mine who actually teaches the police handgun shooting and training is told me to try a Springfield XD weapon. And he said, if you do, he says, because I've been a Glock fan, and I've had the 45, the Colt 45s, and the clones of those particular ones. Pretty much that's all I had at the time. And so I tried a Springfield XD, but the one that I happened to end up with was called the subcompact, which is rather small, XD40. Which is a 40 caliber, the subcompact XD40. And so I got it, and I started right out of the box, just started trying to see how accurate this was, what it was going to do with different kinds of ammunition. Was it going to stovepipe on me, which is like a jam where the casing is sticking straight up out of the gun, which is a common problem, or not common, but it is a problem with semi-automatics. I can tell you, I have never been so impressed with a weapon in my entire life. So, to make a long story short, I ended up, between me and my two sons, with 4 of these, and in 40 and 45, and between us, we probably put, I'd say, easily 1,000 rounds downrange with these pistols. And I have asked my sons, and my own experience as well, I've never had one jam in all of those rounds, and we've shot everything from ammunition to lead. It's just probably one of the most well-designed guns, and my personal favorite anymore is called a Mod 2. It's Model 2, MOD 2, and it's in the Springfield XD Subcompact 45. It is big. The 45 caliber, it holds 11 rounds, and the accuracy on these two guns, on these guns, is beyond belief, Vince. I literally, my neighbor and I, we went out shooting the other day, and we were shooting at about 25 yards, and we had a bullseye out there, of course, the target set up, and I eked a ragged hole just above that bullseye at 25 yards that was about an inch in diameter offhand. And he was stunned. He just couldn't believe the accuracy of this. So he's looking around. He's going to try to go out and get him one now. But, I mean, part of it, of course, is me having shot thousands of rounds through it. The other thing I was going to tell Dr. Shealy, because he's helped me out so much, that's why I'm chiming in here to be able to offer something back to him. The thing that, and you might want to check this out as well, Vince, there is a holster company that is right here in the town, fairly close to me, Kalispell, and it's called, the holster is a molded plastic holster that has 2 loops that goes inside the waistband and goes down over your belt and your pants and loops around the belt. And it's called Talon, is the brand, Talon, Talon holsters. They're about $65 because each one of them is handmade, and they have a slight tilt toward them. So if you're right-handed, it's slightly tilted toward your right side so that it comes out quick and easy. And I've just been extremely impressed with them. Literally, it is the most, and I've had probably 5 or 6 different brands of holsters, and I have never had one that is more comfortable than this. And I got one the other day, or a couple of years ago. My kids bought it for me for a Father's Day present, and since then I've ended up with another one because they're just so incredible. I don't think you'll be disappointed in the least. And they're very thin. They're durable. I mean, amazing. And plus, they've got a lifetime warranty on them. So,
interesting. I've looked it up on the internet, and there are a whole batch of the Talons available on Amazon of all places.
Yeah, he makes them for almost anything that you're doing. Like I said, I think maybe it's 3 years ago that I got this because he was just starting his business back then, and he did not have a holster for my subcompact XD. And so I literally loaned him my gun to make a holster for it. And so anyway, it was a hand-built custom for the subcompact XD, but I've just been, I have that most respect for whatever, and you know, they always say the most dangerous guy is the guy that's only got one gun because he knows how to shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So Vince, I'm sure, is just as proficient with his Colt-designed 45 as I am with my XD. But I just cannot believe, out of the little subcompact barrel, how incredibly accurate every single one of our 4 that we have is. The 3 of them are subcompacts and one's a full size, and all of them are amazingly accurate.
I've got a comment, Kyle. I was plinking with our son, and I had my 45, and he had his .40 caliber handgun. And so we were shooting at a target, boom, boom, boom. And, I was carefully positioning and taking each shot. And he, after I was done shooting, he started shooting twice as fast. And he had a Springfield Armory XD-M, which he carries, in .40 caliber. Exactly what you're talking about, but more of a full-size handgun than the compact. I was so impressed. I couldn't believe. Everything you said is absolutely correct. This thing is fast. It's ugly because it's all black. It's like it's like one of those guns that you see on TV. When the FBI or that hero pulls out his. He's got a Springfield XD-M. That it's black, it's plastic and metal. And it is fast, and it is accurate, and it doesn't jam. Everything you said is in the experience that I saw, and we have had with that Springfield Armory XD. And we have the XD-M, and that would be the the match barrel. So yeah, you're correct. You're absolutely correct. And the .40 caliber is plenty powerful. So. I totally agree, and I agreed. One of the things I was going to mention in Norm Shealy is the inside waistband carry, and that is certainly an option. So what I do is I carry at my side when I'm on the tractor or when I'm around town, and if I think I'm going to be in a bad situation, I carry behind me. Now, if you notice on television, or movies, I don't know about over-the-air television because we haven't had it in a couple decades, but in movies, you see a guy pull out a gun from behind his back, and that's like a surprise. Surprise, I've got a gun. And so if you want to carry it for surprise and not let the other person know, then carrying behind you is a good choice. But it's uncomfortable in the car. It's uncomfortable when you sit down. It's uncomfortable on the tractor. So there's a compromise, and I do both. So that's my thought. Kyle, your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I agree with you. Vince, if you ever get a chance, Father Day's coming up here, so have your kids buy you one of those Talon holsters. And if you consider your belly button at 12 o'clock, I carry mine at about 4:30, right at 30 to 5, somewhere right behind that. And I practice, and I have practiced many hundreds of times, pulling it out of there quickly, even with having a vest on. How do you get the vest out of the way to get it out of there quickly? But it snaps in, and it's hard to explain, but it goes in. It's not like a normal slide in and fall out kind of holster. This thing, he builds them so that when they go in, there's a slight snap. And it's just enough to hold that gun very securely. At the same time, you can pull it out without even having to think about it. It's if you ever try that, Vince, I think for sure you'll love it. It'd be great to be able to give you something that you can do and help you out as much as you've helped me and everything, and Dr. Shealy as well. To me, I've had, I don't want to name all the names of the ones that I have, the other holsters, but they all felt big and bulky, and they pinched, right, and they felt like you really had something stuck there. But this Talon does not. It's exceptional.
Mm-hmm. And you said 4 o'clock or 4:30, and that's exactly where I carry mine. Interesting. I've never met Kyle, and we have found that we have independently come up with many of the same solutions, same designs, same implementations, independently, same ones. And I really appreciate that, Kyle. So let me continue, and you're certainly welcome to stay with us. Talking about carrying, and I'd like to talk about what are the gun laws. And I think, class, you may find this interesting. And Dr. Shealy, one of the questions you might want to ask is, do you need a concealed carry permit in Missouri? Is that something that you're interested in?
And I'm in a position out there. Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about that when we come. Dr. Norm Shealy's with us. Kyle's with us. And I just wanted to mention that, I've been to the farm supply store, the local one, in our neck of the woods, in our village. And, over the years, over a decade. And one day, the gal behind the counter said to me, middle-aged gal, Vincent, why do you carry a gun? And, I would open carry, meaning I'd have it between my blue jeans and my shirt. And I'd walk in, and it was just a normal part of getting dressed as far as I'm concerned. And she wanted to know, why did I carry a gun? And I said, well, it's my duty. I didn't put my hands on my hips and say, it's my right. I said, it's my duty. And
sorry, but that sounds like a Sagittarian.
I explained to her it's my duty, and then I said a couple other things that might have been offensive to a woman. I said, and I'm not using profanity, and I didn't. I said, I'm the head of our family, and it is my duty to protect my family, and it is my duty to protect me. And if something happens to me, our family will be worse off than if I were around. So it's my duty to protect me and my family. And I said, by the way, Judy, while I'm here in the store, if something bad happens, I can protect you too. And another time I was getting my hair cut, and the same gal over and over and over for years, and I had my rider jacket on, my blue jeans and my rider jacket, my blue jeans jacket, and it was a little chilly outside, so I had my jacket on, and they had a coat rack, so she called me, and I said, okay, I'm ready, let me just hang up my rider jacket, and I hung it up on the hook, and when I did that, she saw my gun. She said, you have a gun? And I said, yeah. And I said, now, if that's a problem, I can leave. But if I leave, if I leave and something bad happens, I can't help you. She said, well, so she said, well, you've been coming here for years, so I guess it's okay. Now, I really like this young gal. She's a middle-aged mom now, or getting close to being a middle-aged mom. And so what happened was, everybody who was after me in line to get their hair cut was listening to the discussion about carrying a gun. And, I mean, you could have heard a pin drop. The only two voices were mostly mine and the gal who was cutting my hair, because we were talking about carrying a gun. And people didn't realize that they can do this. So to continue this discussion, in the state of Missouri, now this is not true for all states, so you need to, if you're outside of the state of Missouri, you probably want to look this up. So I went to the internet, and I'm looking at gun laws in Missouri, and there's a table there that says long guns and handguns, okay? So do you need a permit to purchase a long gun, meaning a rifle or a shotgun, and a handgun? Do you need a permit? The answer is no. You do not need a permit to purchase a long gun or a handgun. Do you have firearm registration in the state of Missouri? No. That's for long guns and handguns. Do you need to have a license to have one? No. That's for handguns and long guns. Do you need to have a permit to carry one? No. That's for a handgun and a long gun. Can you carry it open? Meaning, can it be visible with just from somebody standing near you? Can you carry it that way? Yes. Now, let me explain that this doesn't mean that you can walk around and flash it and point it at people. That's not acceptable. But can you carry it, the way I do, with the grip sticking out of my blue jeans? Yeah. Yeah, you can. And is there an assault weapon law in Missouri? No. No. Is there a magazine capacity restriction? No. Are you able to carry it around with you peaceably? Peaceable journey law? Yes. Are background checks required for private sales? No. So that's a recap of the law in Missouri. We'll talk more about it when we come back. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. Dr. Shealy, did you have any questions more about guns, or would you like me to?
I'm just getting educated. I do think it's important, very important for everybody to realize what carry, and conceal, and all those things mean, and how they can do this. So go for it.
Okay. So according to the Missouri statute 571.070 of 2007, it is unlawful for a felon or an adjudged incompetent person to have possession of any firearm, including concealed firearms. And if they do, it's a Class D felony. Now, the law was subject to change, and it did. And here's what happened. So, in Missouri, after September 2016, a Senate bill, SB 656, was passed allowing permitless, meaning without a permit, concealed carry by anyone 19 years of age or older who may lawfully own a gun. So you can have, and this is very important, and I think this might be one of your questions, Dr. Shealy. As of September 2016, a law was passed saying that you can carry without a permit anyone over 19 years of age or older if you may lawfully own a gun, meaning you're not mentally it's not decided that you're mentally incompetent or you're a felon. You can carry a gun without a permit. And the governor vetoed this. But on
of course.
Yes, Nixon. But that was overrided. Okay? So the permitless carry provision of the bill went into effect January 1st, 2017. According to the Internet, Missouri allows any person who has a valid concealed carry endorsement permit and is lawfully carrying a firearm in a concealed manner to briefly and openly display the firearm so long as it's not displayed in an angry or threatening manner. Okay. Now, some localities prohibit open carry. However, concealed carry licenses are exempted from this restriction. Now, let me read a little bit more. Let's see. Okay. Now, here's an article by KSHB, and it says what you need to know about Missouri's new Stand Your Ground law. Now, this ties it all together. So beginning in January, of 2017, Missouri is set to become the 25th state with an active Stand Your Ground law. Now, although Missouri Governor Jay Nixon vetoed this bill, it was overruled after the state legislature passed Senate Bill 656. It says the bill includes several provisions to gun measures, one changing how victims can defend themselves. So what is Stand Your Ground? As long as one is in a location authorized to be in, whether it be a home, a public place, one now has the right to defend himself or herself with a firearm without retreating first. Now, it used to be that if you were threatened and you could run away, you had to run away. Otherwise, you couldn't defend shooting someone. Now, as long as you reasonably feel that your life is being threatened with deadly force, you can fire. You can shoot. So you used to have to retreat, and now you don't. You can stand your ground. Okay? Now, this is a law in Missouri that's good for the citizens because it provides the accused with rights, and it places the burden on the government to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you did not act in lawful self-defense. So it's presumed that you acted in lawful self-defense unless the government can prove that you didn't, which is kind of good for us. So now the question is, do you need a concealed carry permit? Well, by 2017, anyone 19 years of age or older was able to carry a concealed weapon without a permit or training. That's the way it is. So the way I see that, this is just my interpretation. By the way, class, everything that I've said, you need to find out for yourself if it's true. Okay? Don't believe anything I've said. Do your own research. That's just a disclaimer, so don't come after me if you did something that I said. Okay? I've just talked about, I'm not advocating anything. I'm just saying, here's what I have done, and here's what our family has done, and here's what our experiences are. So, from what I can tell from this, it surely sounds to me like we no longer need concealed carry permits to carry concealed within the state of Missouri. Now, do I have a concealed carry permit? Yes. I believe I made a mistake, and so did Mrs. Finelli when we got ours, because we were required to have one. But the law's changed. We no longer need to have one. Now, how do I feel about going to a place that says no guns? Well, here's how I feel about this. I feel it is absolutely the right of a store. Let's say a store is selling sporting goods, but they don't sell guns. They sell sporting goods, basketballs and baseballs and gloves and golf clubs, and they say no guns on the front door. To me, that means they're in charge. They are in charge of that store, and if they don't want guns there, I should respect that. Now, in my mind, I have to make a decision. Do I feel safe enough to go in there for whatever reason I think I need to go in there without a gun? Or do I say, I don't need that basketball anyway. I'm not going in there. Maybe I'll find another store that's more in line with my thinking, that, people should be able to protect themselves. And that's really what I would do. I'd go find another place. And we have been dealing with a bank for years. And this bank had a no guns sign on their door. They don't have that anymore because they know there's a whole bunch of farmers that patronize that bank, and they feel that they'd be better off with people they know with guns to help protect them than without having those people there. So I can now carry my .45 open carry or concealed carry in the bank, and it's okay. So as far as me imposing my will on other people, I don't think that's right. If Dr. Shealy, if I were coming to your house and you said, hey, listen, I'm having this little get together and I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't bring your guns, I would not do that. I would not bring a gun. Okay? Because I think it is up to the person who is in control of the property to make that decision. So I don't go where guns are not allowed. And, there's a mall in Springfield. And I don't go to the mall very often. But if you go into the main mall entrance, there's a sign that says no guns. But if you go into the mall that's on the other side of the mall, and it's all connected inside, by Sears, there's no sign that says no guns. So I never see this. So, yeah, I would do Columbo and I'd say, geez, there's no, I didn't see, let's go look. I didn't see a sign. There's no sign where I went in. Now, how would I know that there's a sign on the other side of the mall? How would I know that? Because I went in by the Sears side and there's no sign there. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful but there's a balance between protecting myself and my family and not. So those are kind of my thoughts on how I do it, why I do it. And I'll tell you what, when shots were fired at our house, I felt threatened. I really did. Our whole family did. And we decided, and here's something that someone needs to do before you buy a gun. You need to decide for sure if you're in a situation where if you have a gun and are you going to take someone's life who is threatening to kill you or your family? Are you willing to do that? And if the answer is I don't know, then don't get a gun. Because if you don't know and you're not proficient and you don't know how to handle it, and if you're not willing to protect yourself from death using your gun, the other team may grab your gun and shoot you with your gun. Okay? So you're probably better off if you don't have one, if you don't know if you would be willing to shoot. So I've asked every single member of our family. We sat down at the kitchen table, and I said, okay, so here are some scenarios. What are you willing to do? And everybody in our family, one at a time, as we went around the table, said that if there was a situation where mom was being threatened and it looked like she might get killed, everyone in the family would discharge and protect mom. And the same went for every other member of the family, protecting every other member of the family, including themselves. So we've all made the decision that we're willing to do it. We don't want to do it. We don't want to take someone's life. But if someone is trying to kill us, yeah, we're going to do it. And then there's something else to keep in mind about this class. And that is, well, what happens if you shoot somebody? And if you want, Dr. Shealy, do you want me to spend a couple more minutes and talk about?
Absolutely, please.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about what happens when you shoot somebody based on my research, talking with people who used to protect and serve. They were deputies. Now they call themselves law enforcement. We'll be right back. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us, normshealy.com. So we've talked about why I carry. We've talked about what I carry. We talked about how I carry. And what happens? What happens when you're in a situation? And this is all my opinion. When someone gets shot. Okay. So let's say you're at a restaurant, for example, and there are a bunch of people there, and someone comes in waving a gun around, and it looks like someone's going to get shot. Now, the law enforcement types would call this the bad guy, okay? So the person's waving this gun around, and it really looks, you're absolutely sure that there's a really good possibility that you're going to get shot or someone else gets shot. And this is a restaurant, and people are starting to cry, and people are screaming, and there's a lot of yelling going on, and the person waving the gun around is yelling. And you're really not sure what's going on, but it doesn't look good. And the gun gets pointed at you, it gets waved around, it gets pointed at other people. You have a concealed position. I'm not saying you have a concealed carry permit, and we're talking about Missouri now, okay? So check this out for your own states. So you're sitting there, or you're standing there, and you are in fear for your life. Your family's with you. And there is a point at which you think that you can draw your weapon and fire and kill the person that came into the restaurant waving the gun and threatening everybody. You think it's serious. You don't think it's an act. You think that someone's going to die, and you don't want it to be anyone you know or you. You draw your weapon and you shoot. Now, you know what's going to happen next, right? There are a whole bunch of people that are going to call 911. They're going to be screaming. They're going to be crying. They're going to be saying, hey, I'm at Joe's restaurant, and there was this guy with a gun. There's another guy with a gun. There's another guy with a gun, and he shot the first guy with the gun. And the dispatcher's going to say, we're on our way. Now, when the police come in, they're going to have their guns drawn. There's going to be a SWAT team outside. The place is going to be encircled. There's going to be cop cars everywhere, lights and sirens, and there's going to be uniforms. The guys are going to be in their ballistic armor vests, and they're going to be looking for a gunfight. I'm talking about the guys in blue. They're going to be looking for a gunfight, and they're going to be high on adrenaline, and they're going to be ready to start squeezing that trigger. Now, you're the guy that stopped the whole problem. You're the guy that took out and killed the shooter. But you've got a gun. And there's a whole bunch of nutty people who are really panicking who say, to 9/11 that there's a guy that was waving his gun around, another guy shot him, and oh my God, he's dead. There's blood everywhere. And they're not saying to the guy who shot this guy and solved the problem, they're not saying, praise the Lord, thank you so much. They're screaming on their phones to 9/11. The picture's not clear. The cops come in and they see you with a gun. Now what? What's the likelihood of you getting shot? Pretty high. Pretty high. So here's what you need to do. You need to tell everybody to calm down, hold it, don't call the cops. You call the cops and you say, I'm at Joe's restaurant. A person came in with a gun. He was waving it around, threatening people. It looked like someone was going to get shot. I pulled out. I'm the victim. Let me say it a different way. I'm the victim. Let me say it a different way. I'm the victim. I'm the guy in the black T-shirt. The guy in the black T-shirt. I shot this guy who was threatening to kill everybody. I shot him. I killed him. I'm the victim. When you come in, don't shoot me. That's what you need to do. Because the cops are going to come in, and if they see you with a gun and the current position that the cops are taking, the likelihood of you getting shot is high for saving everybody. Now, bear in mind, I believe that when you shoot someone, the cops are going to arrest you. They're going to put you in handcuffs, and they're going to haul you down to the station, and they're going to have a nice long talk with you. And they're going to try to figure out what happened. Now, remember that they don't know what happened. There's just a bunch of screaming people yelling, this guy killed that guy. You're going to be hauled off, and you're going to be arrested, and you're going to be in the fight for your life with the cops. And you're going to have to prove your innocence, and you're going to have some witnesses. So you might want to tell people, remember what happened. Dr. Shealy and I are talking about guns and my perspective on them, and we're describing the scenario at the restaurant where a person comes in waving a gun, people feel threatened and start crying and screaming, and you have to shoot. You have to shoot this guy to save your life and others. And so right after you shoot this guy, this is all my opinion, and he goes down and he dies. There are going to be people on the phones. They're going to be calling 911. They're going to be screaming, and they're going to be videoing you. And there you are. There's going to be a video of you, or many videos of you, with your gun in your hand, standing there, looking like you are waving the gun at these people. Now, you know that there's a high probability, a high likelihood, that this guy might not be alone. There are probably guys just like him in the car outside, just like the gunman. And you don't know if the threat is over or not. You've just shot this guy. He's down, but you don't know if anybody else in the restaurant is an accomplice or working with this guy. So you got to figure that out. So you still have your gun in your hand, and now you're on video with these cell phones, and people are screaming. They're calling 911. So here's just a thought. I think I would say, hey, hold it. Put your cell phones down. Put your cell phones down now. And then I would say something like this.
And then
yes.
Not put them down.
Of course, I'd still have my gun in my hand, but it'd be pointing down, right? I'm not going to let go of my gun until I'm sure that this situation is over. And I'd say, yes, I did have to kill that person. Remember, this guy was threatening to kill you all of you. He was pointing the gun at all of us. I'm the guy that stopped it. Remember, I'm the guy that stopped it. You are the victims. I am the victim. All of us are victims here. Yes, I had to shoot him, but I saved your life. Remember that, because the police are going to ask you. Because if you don't tell them what they just saw, they probably are going to say, yeah, you were waving your gun around and you started shooting. Well, yeah, you shot once. You took the guy down. But then you need to go outside and make sure that there are no buddies of his that are just like him that are willing to come in and start shooting. You need to figure that out. But you need to make sure that these people at the restaurant who are screaming don't get you shot for saving their lives. Because they say, that's him, that's the guy with the black shirt, he's got the gun. So it's a dangerous, dangerous situation if you happen to save people's lives by using your gun in a situation like that. And I think that is a kind of a typical situation. Dr. Shealy, your thoughts? Questions? Comments?
I'm listening carefully because, after our robbery, I went out and bought a Smith & Wesson bodyguard that fits my hand well, and it has a laser on it, which I wanted, knowing that I'm not, talented. Now the question is if I want to carry that at the office, because now we have been invaded. Do I have to wear a vest every day? How do I not disturb my patients by showing it, by wearing one?
I have an answer for that. I have a friend who goes out in public a lot, and he carries a .45 ACP, a 1911, very similar to what I carry. Unfortunately, it's a big gun, but he's a big guy. He's not a fat guy, but he's tall, he's muscular, and he's about my age. He's in his 60s. And here's what he does. And he wears kind of a similar uniform. He wears a long sleeve white shirt, and under his shirt he wears a t-shirt, an undershirt. And here's what he does. He has a holster that allows him to carry his gun. And I'm not saying a .45 is the way to go, because I don't think it is in your case, Dr. Shealy, because of what you do in your practice. But he carries his in a holster that, like a shoulder holster. But he wears a T-shirt that is cut off just about where his belly button is. So he does not have his T-shirt tucked in to his pants. So what he does, if he has to, is he can unbutton one button in the middle of his shirt, about where his heart is, unbutton that one button, slowly reach in, grab the holster, which is, grab the butt of the gun, the grip of the gun, which is under his left shoulder, and draw it out from there. And you'd never know he has one on because he has a T-shirt under his white long sleeve shirt. That's how he does it. So that's a thought, and no one would ever know that you have one, especially, with your smaller handgun. So that's a thought. But I think you should try them all on. Try the shoulder holster. Try the in the waistband holster. You might like that better. But, it's probably not a good idea to let your patients know that you might be carrying.
That I'm protecting them.
Now, yes, that you're protecting them. And, the other thing is, you could, if it fits in your pocket, wear pants that will allow you to just keep it in your pocket, your front pocket.
Right.
So, but you have to try all these solutions and see which one you like best. And then, of course, when you're in a situation where it's like a gunfight. Mike Ma teaches a class on how to survive a gunfight. It is absolutely the most terrifying experience that a person can go through, other than having a medical procedure done while you're awake. But it's literally, you see what tunnel vision's like. You see what it's like to sweat profusely. You see what it's like not being able to see clearly because the sweat is burning your eyes. You're shaking, and there are several people coming after you. We've done these shootouts at the farm, and we've used real guns. We're not using paintball guns. We're using real guns, and we're using real cartridges with wax bullets. And I don't recommend anyone do this at home. This is really dangerous stuff. We would wear face masks to protect our eyes, but when we were done with this home invasion shootout, everybody was bleeding. And I'm looking down at my wrist right now, my left wrist. I still have a scar from where I was shot with a wax bullet, with probably a .357 revolver with a wax bullet or a .38 special. I don't know what it was, but man, did it hurt. And we have when Mike Ma taught this, I had my blue jeans on and I had a shirt on, and we're getting ready for the home invasion. And so I said, okay. So I went into the closet and got my rider jacket, which is a thick cotton jacket. Mike says, "What are you doing?" So I'm ready. Like, what are you doing? No jackets. You have to experience this. You have to feel what this is like getting shot. And man, did I feel it. I was shot many times.
You're about to talk
but
me
that's,
out of
No. No. And if you want, Dr. Shealy, I'll be glad to do a one-on-one with you, or you can do it with our boys. I'll teach you some of the techniques that I was taught. And, the kind of stuff that you see on TV, that's not how we do it. I will explain right now exactly how we do it. This is dangerous. This is really, really dangerous. So I'm going to say that don't do this. Okay? But this is what we do. Don't do this. And first we make absolutely sure, and let's say we have a revolver. And it makes it really simple. Let's say it's a .38 Detective Special. So it's a snub-nosed or short-barrel .38, something the police used to carry many decades ago. And that's something that we recommend that women consider for their carry weapon, because you don't have to remember too much. The safety is keep your finger off the trigger, and it won't go off. Okay? So let's say you have this .38, and you're in the kitchen, and you make absolutely certain many times that there are no cartridges in this .38. And you have it in your holster. Let's say it's a side holster, for example. So you're just standing there, and you have these kitchen cabinets, and you have these knobs on the kitchen cabinets that, you grab them with your thumb and forefinger, and you pull the cabinet door open, to get your cups or saucers or whatever might be in there. Well, you've got these in the kitchen, and what you do, excuse me, don't do this. Here's what I do. I will take my revolver, and I will withdraw it from the holster, knowing that I've checked it many times to make sure it's unloaded, and I will shoot without extending my arm that knob on the kitchen cabinets. And the idea is pull it out relatively quickly, smoothly, and squeeze the trigger. Because when you squeeze the trigger, the gun rotates, typically to the right. Typically it rotates to the right. Trigger pulls on revolvers are kind of hard sometimes. And then I look down and I try to follow the path that, had there been a cartridge in there and the bullet left the muzzle, would it have hit that knob? And I keep practicing over and over and over and over until I'm confident that I can pull that out of the holster, point it at that knob without looking at the gun, just looking at the knob, and would I have hit it? Now, I'm not saying I would have had to hit that exact knob and obliterated it, but, if it were the shape of or the size of a saucer or a dessert plate, would I have hit it? And if the answer is yes, that's good enough. Because if I'm aiming for the center mass of a person, and I can hit a dinner plate or a pie plate, that's probably good enough. So you practice over and over. No, I practice over and over. But don't do that. We'll be right back. I want to thank Andy for engineering the broadcast today. He's doing an excellent job. And I just want to make one quick comment before George weighs in. George in New Hampshire. Never dry fire a rimfire gun. Okay, so if you have a handgun that's a .22, don't dry fire it, meaning fire without a cartridge, because you can damage it. But you certainly don't want to have a loaded gun and plink at your kitchen cabinets. You don't want to do that, right? So, George in New Hampshire, welcome.
Hi, Vincent. Hi, Dr. Shealy. Could I make just 3 quick recommendations for Dr. Shealy with his practice of carrying concealed?
Yes.
All right. One is they have like an elastic waistband that looks somewhat like a thinner version of one of those back support wraparounds that you'd wear. And you wear it underneath your shirt, right against the skin, or depending on your comfort, you could put a T-shirt and then put it on. And it has a holster sewn into it, so that it's very close to the side of your body, and at the same time it's flexible, but it's something that you could just leave your shirt. If it's tucked in, you're wearing a dress shirt, you just loosen it up a little bit, pull it up, and it'll be virtually unnoticeable. Or there's ankle holsters that you can wrap around. Some are quite well made that have like a shearling sheepskin around it. You can put it right in your ankle, and it has the holster basically stitched into the band that fits around your ankle, and it's Velcro, quick release. And all you have to do is kind of like, depending on you realize what situation you're in and what, I mean, it's not like you're going on an expedition on a clandestine mission out in the jungles. In other words, something that you could just reach down, pull up the cuff of your leg, and basically pull it out, or it'll have a snap release that your thumb can just work it. There's two. The other thing I'd recommend is when you buy a gun, the semi-auto, Dr. Shealy, you might like this. I know there's a slight bulge with the cylinder. You have a 5-shot gun, and I believe it has the shrouded hammer on it, right? The hammer is either internal or shrouded, right?
Yeah.
Meaning, yeah, it's not exposed, the hammer, right?
Right.
So that makes it less likely to catch on your clothes as you're pulling it out, which is good. But you can get things in stainless steel, or an automatic tends to be like a small pocket carry automatic, like a Walter PPKS or a Walter PPK, who I think would be good for your hand. And that's the equivalent of that revolver you have that's based on a police detective, plainclothesman's more concealable gun. And it's flatter against, and it carries a couple of extra rounds than what you'd have there. And I'm just saying is when you wear it, like I said, they have the in-the-pants holster that you could basically snap around your belt, but it folds inside the waistband rather than externally exposed. So you've got those three options, and I would consider getting also a semi-automatic, doctor, because I think in your practice you could even probably hide some of them in something as small as a mock cell phone case. Or here's one last recommendation. The only one I've ever found that in a very ultra-compact 22 long rifle was the Beretta 21A. It fits literally in the palm of your hands, not counting your thumbs and fingers. It'll just fit in your palm. It's like, I think it's about a 6 or 7 shot 22 long rifle. And it's so ultra-hideable, you could literally drop it in little more than an oversized watch pocket. And like I said, the best gun in the world is the one you have with you when you need it, because a lot of times, I'm sure Vincent could tell you, you could have a larger gun at home, but if you don't have it with you, it doesn't do you much good.
Great advice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gentlemen, may I ask you both a question? We're running low on time. George, you spend a lot of time with people at events that are in the gun aisle of the world, if you will. Would you consider coming on with Dr. Shealy and me if Dr. Shealy would like to learn more about this subject?
Sure, I'd be more than happy to.
Dr. Shealy, would you like to continue a little bit more next week with?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So, class, next Monday here at USA Prepares, Dr. Shealy will be with us. George, does that work for you on Monday?
Yeah, Monday's fine.
All right. We'll talk during the week, and so the three of us will be talking about guns and carrying and advice and counsel.
Terrific. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Right,
Dr. Shealy, thanks so much. Thank you so much. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.